As you all know, we are currently in the darkest, stupidest timeline. So it's hard to say, here's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard about any one thing. However, I guess I can say, here's the most ridiculous thing I've heard this week said by someone I happen to actually know. And it's this. The governor of California, Gavin Newsom, secretly traveled from our state to Montana to spend a weekend at his wife's horse ranch. This assertion apparently comes from a Facebook page called Frontline America, which is a Christian conservative conspiracy theory page run by a guy named Ben Bergquam, who thinks being gay is a sin and liberalism is a plague. Ironic. Bergquam wrote, while California is dying, not because of COVID, but because of the Newsom/Democrat lockdown, I hear Gavin is vacationing in Stevensville, Montana. Can anyone confirm? If you are in the Stevensville area or know anyone who is, please have them videotape confirmation and share their videos on this page. So, of course, someone immediately responded with the requested proof, a video or a photo or something. Let's take a look. Oh, sorry, that's actually a photo of Donald Trump, President of the United States, traveling to his golf course in Virginia over the weekend that the U.S. closed in on 100,000 Americans dead from coronavirus. There are no photos of Newsom vacationing in Montana because it didn't happen. There are no photos, there's no reports from anyone actually in Stevensville, there's no plane tickets, there's no whistleblowing aides, because Newsom remained in Napa Valley where he delivered a press conference on the day after he supposedly traveled 1,000 miles each way to bumfuck Montana. I was alarmed that someone could seriously believe something so minor and also so stupid, despite a complete lack of evidence. Like, this is what happens when we fail to teach kids critical thinking and when we fail to encourage critical thinking in adults. People rushed to believe this because they desperately wanted to believe several things. Number one, that liberal politicians, but not conservatives, are lying hypocrites. Number two, that coronavirus is not a big deal. Number three, that quarantine is just an excuse to, for some reason, tank the economy. And number four, that liberal states like California are actual hellholes. I half agree with number one. The majority of politicians are lying hypocrites, but that's whether they're liberal, conservative, or other. Like, that's how they got that job. We should never trust a politician further than we can throw them. We should never put a politician on a pedestal. Politicians work for us, their constituents. And we should never forget that. And we should never let them forget that, even more importantly. But yeah, politicians suck. And some of them, including conservative politician Boris Johnson's advisor, Dominic Cummings, have in fact violated quarantine. Of course, he's a public persona, so he was immediately spotted, and literally everyone in the world knew that it was happening as it happened, because that's what happens when you're a public figure doing something stupid. My number two and number 3 points that, supposedly COVID-19 is not a big deal and quarantine is just some tyrannical anti-Trump, anti-economy measure. I've already addressed those in detail, but just to reiterate, coronavirus is quite obviously a very big deal because the U.S. as a whole didn't address it quickly or competently, which has now led to much more probably than 100,000 Americans dead as of this recording. Areas like mine here in the San Francisco Bay Area that sheltered in place early have had a much better time of it. There have been fewer deaths per 100,000 people. Our hospitals have remained operational. They haven't been overwhelmed. We can even look at the numbers statewide, which would include LA. LA lagged behind the Bay Area and got hit really hard. But still, you can see a difference between the states that sheltered in place and those that didn't. As of this recording, California has had 247 cases per 100,000 people, while Mississippi, where their governor offered thoughts and prayers instead of shelter in place, They had nearly twice as many cases, 461 per 100,000 people. California has seen 10 deaths for every 100,000 people. Mississippi has seen 22 deaths, so more than twice as many. Note that all of these numbers are fucked. We don't really know how many cases we have. These are just known and reported numbers, working with the best numbers we've got. Montana, where Newsom supposedly went for vacation to escape from California, actually sided with the liberals, by which I mean they listened to the science and the experts on the subject, and they sheltered in place pretty early, even though they have a very low population density. Thanks to that early intervention, they've seen fewer than 500 cases total and only 17 known deaths. The person who originally told me about this conspiracy theory said that Newsom went there because they're not under lockdown. First of all, no one is under lockdown. That's when you can't leave your home for any reason at all, like nuclear fallout or something. Second of all, Montana is sheltering in place, like California, and like California, are only just now starting to slowly loosen those restrictions. So obviously, it's a completely baseless conspiracy theory that makes absolutely no sense when you think about it for longer than 3 seconds. The governor can't leave the state without notifying the lieutenant governor, and shouldn't leave at all in the midst of a crisis, obviously. So the stakes would be very high for him to travel 1,000 miles each way just to visit Montana. And a lot of people would have to have been involved in that caper, unless he just secretly by himself drove his own car there in the middle of the night for no reason. But I guarantee this ridiculous theory got so much traction mostly because of point number 4, the desire to believe that liberal states are shitholes, that we are dying. When suburban and rural Trump supporters think about quarantine in California, they picture some kind of dystopian nightmare, because that's what Fox News and Trump and other conservatives have told them. Allow me to put the lie to that. Quarantining in California, particularly here in the Bay Area, is fucking great for those of us who still have jobs. It's a literal dream come true for me. And in tomorrow's video, I'm going to talk a little bit more about what sheltering in place is actually like here in the Bay Area, and why specifically conservatives are so eager to make people believe that California is a terrible place to live. But just to sum this point up, no, the governor of California clearly did not secretly run off to Montana to escape the hell that is California. It didn't happen. Please stop believing everything you read on Facebook.